The night I found out my job might die, and my heart might get dragged with it, my boss slid a single folder across a long, shiny table and smiled like it was a gift. It was 8 p.m. on a Friday. Marcus never called meetings this late to hand out bonuses. He did it when he wanted to thin the herd. "The firm is pivoting," he said in that smooth voice that sounded like expensive scotch. "We need a senior partner who can lead the next chapter." The manila folder stopped halfway between me and the empty chair to my right. My name was not on it. The client's was. "Rossi Vineyards and Estate," Marcus went on. "Legacy account, failing for 3 quarters. This is your final assessment, Liam." My chest tightened. 10 years at that firm, grinding weekends, killing holidays, saying no to a life so I could get one word on a door: partner. I knew what final assessment meant. Win or be replaced. 1 senior partner slot, Marcus said. 2 candidates. The glass door opened, and I already knew who it was before I turned my head. The smell hit me first. Not office cleaner and printer ink, but something warm and messy, like vanilla and basil. Then she walked in, shaking snow off an oversized coat, dark curls escaping a loose bun, cheeks flushed from the cold. "Elena, sorry, elevator stalled," she said, a little breathless. She did not look at Marcus. She looked straight at me, eyes dark and sharp, trying to read what she had walked into. "Sit down, Elena," Marcus said. Liam was just accepting the terms. "What terms?" she asked, dropping her bag. The sound echoed in the quiet room. "The Rossi audit." Marcus leaned back, enjoying himself. "The estate is failing. The board wants a solution. Liam, your specialty is liquidation, brutal efficiency. Elena, you have been begging us to let you rebrand this place for months." He smiled like a cat. "So here is the game. You both go up there. You live on site for 4 weeks. You fix it or you bury it. Whoever presents the board-approved plan on Christmas Eve gets the partnership." "And the other?" Elena asked. Her voice dropped. She already knew, but she needed to hear it. "The other is redundant," Marcus said. "Winner takes all. Loser packs a box." Her fingers tightened on the edge of the table. It was a tiny shake, but I saw it. Her whole life was tied to this place too. Family debt, reputation, rent. Mine was tied to it in a different way. I had carved myself into a weapon for this firm. I did not know how to be anything else. "I'll drive up tonight," I said. My voice sounded calm, like I was picking up a normal file. I reached for the folder. Her hand hit mine first. Her skin was warm against my cold fingers, a shock that ran straight up my arm. We froze there, fingers pressed over cardboard. "I am not letting you gut that place, Liam," she whispered. "It has a heartbeat. You do not get to cut it out." "If it keeps bleeding, it dies," I said. "I am just the surgeon." That was the lie I told myself. I took the folder and walked out into the December night, but the feel of her hand did not leave. It burned there in my palm long after the cold air should have chased it away. The drive to upstate New York was a slow slide from comfort into chaos. City lights faded into dark fields. Clean highway turned to patched country road. Snow went from light and polite to hard and blinding. By the time I reached the old iron gate, the world was just white and headlights. The Rossi estate looked like something from a postcard and a horror movie at the same time. Big Victorian house, wraparound porch, long gravel drive half buried in snow. In every glossy brochure, it probably looked romantic. In real life, it screamed money pit. A beat-up red Jeep was already parked near the front steps. Of course she got here first. I grabbed my duffel from the trunk and trudged to the front door. I expected a manager, maybe a caretaker. Instead, the door flew open, and a small older woman in a black dress stared me down like I was late for dinner and disrespecting her house. "You are the suit," she said. It was not a question. "Liam Joyful," I said, holding out my hand. "Consultant." She looked at my empty hand like it offended her. "The other one brought pastries. You brought nothing." "I brought a strategy to save your home," I said. She snorted and stepped aside. "We will see." Warmth hit me first, not just heat. The house smelled like old wood, beeswax, and something rich on the stove. Tomato sauce, garlic. It felt more alive than my whole apartment back in Chicago. "The other one is in the kitchen," the old woman said. "Too many opinions, too many hands." "Go!" I followed the clatter of pans and found Elena arguing with a commercial refrigerator. "It is the compressor," I said, leaning on the doorframe. She jumped and spun around. There was a streak of flour on her cheekbone, her sleeves rolled to her elbows. For a second, she looked less like the polished brand strategist from the office, and more like she belonged here. "I know what it is," she said. "I was trying percussive maintenance." "You were kicking it," I said. "It was listening," she said, then waved the spatula at me. "You are late." "Blame the weather," I said. "Where are we staying?" Marcus said guest cottages. She let out a short, humorless laugh. "Yeah. Pipes burst 2 days ago. They are ice pools now." "So," I said slowly. "So," she pointed at the ceiling, "there are 4 bedrooms in the main house. Nona has 1. Staff has 2. That leaves the East Wing suite. Shared living room, shared bath. 2 bedrooms. Thin walls. I took the one with the view. You get the one over the stables. Try not to snore." I stepped into the kitchen, close enough to feel the heat from the stove and from her body. "I do not snore," I said. "You do everything loudly." She shot back. I knelt by the fridge, reached behind it, and felt along the intake. One loose valve. I twisted it tight. The loud rattle dropped to a steady hum. She watched me, arms folded. "Competence is not a strategy, Liam," she said. "It is a start," I answered. The silence that followed was not empty. It felt like a rope pulled tight between us. The next morning, the fight began for real. We set up in the library. Heavy shelves, big windows, old portraits staring down like they were judging us. I took the old oak desk. She took the velvet sofa. I built spreadsheets. She spread out color swatches, logo drafts, event ideas. "Look at these margins," I said, pointing at the screen. "They are importing cheese from Italy when they could buy local for half the cost. Shipping is killing them." "It is DOP Parmigiano Reggiano," she said, still sketching. "You do not replace that with some random cheddar and expect people to feel special. They are buying a story, not a snack." "Stories do not pay the electric bill," I snapped. "They are 3 months from losing power." "So we make more people come," she shot back, standing now, pacing the rug. "Winter weddings, tasting events, a New Year's gala. We open the cellar." "To who?" I asked. "The roads are ice. We make it worth the drive." We went like that for hours. I cut. She defended. I said numbers. She said soul. Every time I thought I had found a clean place to slash, she showed me how that cut would bleed into something bigger. By 6, my head was pounding. The old radiator in the corner clanged, hissed, and finally gave up. The heat faded fast. "Perfect," I muttered. Elena rubbed her arms. Her sweater looked expensive and thin. It did nothing against the cold. "I will check the boiler," I said, standing. "I can do it," she said, out of reflex. "You are shivering," I said, stopping in front of her. I was close enough to see the fine lines of tiredness at the corner of her eyes. "You keep building whatever this gullah is. I will deal with the metal monster in the basement." She hesitated, then she nodded. "Okay, thanks." The boiler fought me for an hour. When I finally got the flames steady and the pipes groaning again, I was covered in soot and sweat. I went back upstairs. The library was empty, but warm again. I found her in the kitchen, 2 mugs in front of her, kettle on the counter. She turned when she heard my steps and burst out laughing. "You look like a chimney sweep," she said. "It is fixed," I said, tossing the dirty rag aside. She slid 1 mug toward me. "Earl Grey, black." I frowned. "How did you know?" "You always order it in those long budget meetings," she said. Her voice was softer now. I noticed. Her words hit me in a strange place. For 2 years, I thought I was just watching her from across conference tables and hallways. I never stopped to think she might have been watching me too. "Thank you," I said. "Do not get used to it," she said, but the bite was gone. I just need you alive to sign off on my marketing spend." "Not happening," I said, but I took a sip. It was hot and sharp and a little sweet from the way she had made it. It tasted like a very small truce in a house built for war. The next morning proved one thing fast. A cup of tea in a fixed boiler did not turn enemies into friends. It just made it harder to hate her. I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of humming. For a second, I forgot where I was. Then the old radiator hissed, the floorboard creaked, and the memory of Marcus's winner-takes-all speech slammed back into my chest. I pulled on a shirt and stepped into the shared living room. Elena was on the sofa in leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, hair piled on top of her head, laptop open, papers everywhere. A French press and 2 mugs sat on the coffee table. Without looking up, she said, "If you touch my deck without measuring twice, I will kill you." "I live here now," I said. "You can't threaten your roommate before breakfast." She glanced up, eyes sweeping over my wrinkled t-shirt and sleep-messy hair. For a second, something soft flickered over her face. Then she blinked it away. "You snore," she said. "I do not." "You do," she insisted. "You also talk in your sleep." My stomach dropped. What did I say? She smirked. "Numbers. You dreamed about numbers, Liam. Relax." I should have. But the idea that she had lain awake hearing me breathe did something strange to my chest. She poured coffee, handed me a mug like it was a peace offering and a weapon at the same time. "We have 4 weeks," she said. "We cannot spend them arguing over every line item." "We can," I said, taking a sip. "That's kind of my thing." She rolled her eyes. "Fine. Day plan. You walk the books with Nona, see where the money leaks. I'll walk the property with the staff, see where the magic leaks. We meet in the library at 3 and fight then." Quote. She was bossy, organized, surprisingly precise. It should have annoyed me. Instead, it made my mouth curve. "Deal," I said. The morning blurred into numbers. In a small office off the kitchen, I sat with Nona and a stack of ledgers that looked older than me. "You buy imported truffle oil," I said, scanning a page. "A lot of it." "Our guests like luxury," she said. "Your guests like paying their bills," I muttered. She whacked my arm with a wooden spoon. "You say that to people, they do not come back. This house has history, second chances, romance. You cannot put romance in a spreadsheet, boy." "I can try," I said. She sniffed. "You are like your father." I looked up, startled. "You don't know my father." "No," she said, "but you look like a man who believes if he just works harder, no one will leave." The words hit too close. I dropped my eyes back to the numbers, afraid she'd see more than I wanted to show. By the time I escaped, my head hurt. At 3, I walked into the library with a list of cuts that could keep the place breathing. Elena was already there, pinning photos on a board, candlelit tables, strings of lights in the vines. Happy couples. "This is not a wedding venue," I said. "It will be," she answered. "Winter solstice gala, tasting flights, live music. People come for an experience, not just a bottle." "Experiences cost money," I said, dropping into the chair. "So we make them pay for them," she shot back. "Tiered events. VIP tastings with Nona's recipes. Branded wine club. Limited reserve releases. You want numbers?" She held up a spreadsheet. "I have numbers." I took it. Her projections were careful, not wild. She had used real data, real ticket prices from similar estates. She was not just dreaming. She was building. I hated how much sense it made. "You cut your own design fee," I said quietly. "Of course," she answered. "If I don't believe in this enough to take a hit, why should they?" My throat felt tight. "You can't keep everyone," I said. "We have to cut somewhere." Quote. She walked around the table until she was standing right next to me, close enough that I could feel the warmth from her body. "Show me," she said. We went line by line. I pointed to a position. She told me the person's name, face, and story. Old Giuseppe the gardener. Carla, who ran the tasting room and knew every regular by name. Miguel, who played guitar on Fridays and refused to take tips from anyone under 21. Every time I tried to slash, she reminded me what I was taking. By the time we were done, my perfect clean list of cuts was a messy compromise. We saved the gardener, trimmed outside marketing instead. We reduced hours without firing people. We axed useless vendors and kept the ones that actually cared. "You are soft," she said, but there was no bite to it. "You are manipulative," I replied. She smiled. "We're good at our jobs." The rhythm settled in. Mornings apart, afternoons in the library, nights quietly pretending the thin door between our rooms was thicker than it was. Some nights we argued loud enough for the whole house to hear. Other nights the only sound was her humming behind the wall and the quiet scratch of my pen. On Tuesday, I found her asleep on the velvet sofa, face pressed into her arm, blueprints scattered on the floor. Her laptop balanced on her hip, screen still glowing. I should have woken her. Instead, I eased the laptop away, saved the open file, and closed it. A mock-up of the Solstice Gala glowed in my mind. Candles, ivy, music. I pulled a blanket over her. My fingers brushed the side of her neck. Her skin was warm, soft. She sighed, turning her face into the cushion. "Liam?" she murmured, barely a sound. I froze. For a moment, I let myself look at her without the armor on. No sharp comments, no presentations, no competition. Just a woman who was working herself half to death for a place that did not deserve to be destroyed. I stepped back fast and went to my room. I did not sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her curled up under that blanket. On Friday, the blizzard hit. By noon, the sky was gone. Just white. Snow slammed against the windows, howling around the corners of the house. The power flickered twice, then cut out completely. The generator roared to life, but the internet died with the lines. No emails, no Marcus, no outside world. For the first time in years, my phone was a useless piece of glass. I found Elena in the kitchen. The room was warm and bright, candles lit, stove blazing. She had dragged ingredients out of the pantry and a bottle of red from the cellar. The whole place smelled like garlic, tomatoes, and something slow cooking in the oven. She had taken off her sweater. She wore a plain white tank top and a black skirt, bare arms glowing in the heat, hair half down now, curls tumbling around her shoulders. "You planning to feed the entire staff?" I asked. She looked over her shoulder and gave me a small, real smile. "Just 2 people," she said. "Nona is with the staff. They're fine. This is for us." She turned back to the stove, stirring a pan of pasta. 2 plates waited on the table, 2 wine glasses, 2 candles. My heart did something stupid in my chest. "Can I help?" I asked, suddenly feeling awkward in my own skin. "Can you chop without losing a finger?" she asked. "I have excellent control," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Parsley, thin, not butchered." I washed my hands and stepped beside her at the island. Our shoulders almost touched. The heat, the sound of the storm, the soft crackle of the candles. It all wrapped around us. I focused on the knife. She focused on the pan. It felt like we had done this 1,000 times, and also never. "Show off," she muttered when she saw the neat pile of herbs. "Jealous." I shot back. She twirled pasta onto a wooden spoon, sauce dripping back into the pan, and held it out to me. "Tell me what it needs," she said quietly. I leaned in, lips brushing the edge of the spoon as I tasted. Warm, rich, bright. It was perfect. "It needs nothing," I said. My voice came out rougher than I expected. We were close now. Too close. She didn't pull the spoon away right away. Her eyes found mine, searching. "I made dinner for 2, she said. Her voice dropped. "Just you and me." Quote. The words hit deeper than they should have. Not a team meeting, not a work thing. Dinner. Just us. In a storm that had cut us off from everything else. My mouth moved before my brain could stop it. "Is this a date?" I asked. She watched me for a long second after I asked it. My stupid question hung in the warm air between us, while the storm beat the windows black and white. "Is this a date?" Her fingers tightened on the wooden spoon. A small line appeared between her brows. She looked at the pasta, then at me, then back at the pasta, like she was buying time. "If it were," she said softly, "would you still try to fire me on Christmas Eve?" The words hit like a punch. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. I had answers for everything. Numbers, reports, forecasts. But not for that. "Elena?" "Don't," she said quickly. She set the spoon down too carefully. "Just pour the wine, Liam. Let's just eat." She moved past me to the cabinet. Her shoulder brushed my chest. Even through cotton, it felt like heat. I grabbed the bottle and 2 glasses. My hands shook a little as I poured. Not from the cold this time. We ate at the small kitchen table while the generator hummed and the storm screamed outside. The candlelight turned the old tile floor into something soft and golden. We didn't talk about the firm. Not once. She told me about growing up with 4 cousins in a 2-bedroom house, about how her dad used to sing old Italian songs while burning the garlic every single Sunday. I told her about boarding school Christmases, about learning to iron dress shirts when I was 13 because no one else was going to do it. "That explains so much," she said, smiling around the rim of her glass. "What does that mean?" I asked. "You act like if you stop moving, everything falls apart," she said. "Like the whole world is your responsibility." "That's called leadership," I said. "That's called loneliness," she answered quietly. I didn't have a comeback for that either. We lingered over food that we didn't need, and wine we both pretended not to feel. Her foot bumped mine under the table once. She didn't pull away. Neither did I. When the plates were empty, she sat back and looked at me. Really looked. "For the record," she said, "I don't make dinner like this for people I hate." "For the record," I answered, my voice low, "I don't fix boilers for people I plan to destroy." Her eyes softened. The candle flame flickered between us. "Careful, Joyful," she whispered. "You're starting to sound like a human." "Don't tell Marcus," I said. She laughed. It was small, but real. We cleaned up together, moving around each other in a small circle of light and warmth while the storm tried its best to take the house apart. It did not feel like war. That scared me more than anything. The storm locked us in for 2 days. No internet, no calls, no emails. Just us, the staff, and the creaks of an old house holding its breath. We worked anyway. During the day, we split up. I sat at the kitchen table with ledgers and cost sheets, red pen cutting where it had to. She took the staff through new ideas in the tasting room, turning tired menus into something people might drive through snow for. At night, we ended up in the same places without planning it. By the fire in the library, sharing a blanket over our knees while she sketched layouts and I penciled numbers in the margins. In the hallway outside our rooms, brushing shoulders when we both reached for the same light switch. In the kitchen at midnight, standing at the fridge door, drinking juice straight from the carton. "That's disgusting," she said. "You kissed the wooden spoon first," I pointed out. Her cheeks went pink. "That was research." "Sure," I said. "We were ridiculous. We bickered about where to stack plates and which music to play while we worked. She played old jazz. I worked in silence. Somewhere around the second night, I realized I had started to like the jazz. The space between us shrank in little pieces. A shared joke here. A sigh at the same time there. The kind of small things you only notice when you care. By Monday, the plows made it through. The internet came back like a bad habit. My phone vibrated non-stop for 10 minutes straight. Emails, notifications, a calendar alert reminding me I was due to present a liquidation outline in 4 days. Then Marcus called. I took it in the old study off the main hall. I shut the door, but in a house that old, sound slips through wood like smoke. "Progress report." He snapped before the video even finished connecting. His face filled the laptop screen, smooth and sharp, framed by city lights I was suddenly tired of. "We're stabilizing costs," I said. "We've identified non-essential vendors. I've delayed some payments to buy runway." "And yet," he said, looking down at his notes, "I'm seeing approvals for marketing spend, seasonal staff hours maintained, live event budgets. That is not what we discussed." "It's necessary for valuation," I lied. "We need to show the house can run at full capacity before we kill it," he said, smiling like we were talking about a sales target. "Don't get poetic, Liam. You're my closer. You walk in, strip the place down, and walk out. That's why I put you against her." My jaw clenched. "Her has a name." Quote, "I know her name," he said carelessly. "Pretty girl, smart enough to make noise, not smart enough to see the whole board. I hear you two are playing house up there. Don't get soft. I need the liquidation framework on my desk by Friday. You deliver it. The partner vote is a formality. You hesitate. You're done. Clear?" I swallowed. "Clear," I said. He ended the call without a goodbye. I stood there staring at my own reflection in the black screen. I looked tired. Older. Less like the man who had walked into the firm 10 years ago wanting to win, and more like someone who had forgotten why. The door clicked behind me. I turned. Elena stood in the doorway, a tray in her hands with 2 plates of food that suddenly looked like a joke. Her face was pale. "How much did you hear?" I asked. "Enough," she said. Her voice was thin and quiet, a tone I had never heard from her. I stepped toward her. She stepped back. "Elena, listen." "You're sending the liquidation framework," she said. It wasn't a question. "You're going to hand them the knife." "It's not that simple," I said. "You said it yourself," she whispered. "You walk in, you strip the place down, you walk out. That's what you told him. That's what you've been doing while I stood in the kitchen making pasta like an idiot." "It's my job," I said weakly. "I was trying to buy time." "To keep them from what?" she cut in. "From noticing you're sleeping with the enemy?" "I'm not sleeping with—" "Don't," she snapped. Her eyes shone now, anger and hurt fighting for space. "Don't twist words the way you twist spreadsheets. I thought—" She stopped, pressing her lips together hard. "It doesn't matter what I thought. I was wrong." She set the tray down on the hall table. The plates rattled. "Elena, I tried again. If you would just let me explain." "You already did," she said, to Marcus, very clearly. She turned and walked away. I watched her shoulders, straight and tight, moving fast down the hall. She didn't slam any doors. It was worse. She just disappeared. That night she moved her things to the guest cottage. The pipes were fixed, the walls cold. She went anyway. For 3 days we became strangers who worked on separate sides of the same problem. She sent me updated event numbers by email. I signed off with comments in the margins. We spoke through files, not words. The house felt wrong without her humming in the next room. On the 3rd night, I couldn't stand the silence anymore. I went to the library with a flashlight and the old estate boxes, telling myself I was just looking for tax write-off history. In truth, I was looking for something I could use. Anything that would give me a way out of the trap Marcus had built around us. At the bottom of a box marked 2020, under dusty folders and a brittle rubber band, I found it. A red file. Rossi. Thorn. My stomach flipped. I opened it. Inside were letters and emails, printed and stapled. Marcus's signature at the bottom. Omnicorp letterhead at the top of others. Dates matching years when the estate had mysteriously struggled. Projected land values. Condo mock-ups. Language about unlocking estate potential and removing operational obstacles. Quote, one line stood out in black and white. Once the vineyard posts 3 consecutive loss years, the trust clause lifts. We can proceed with acquisition. My hand tightened on the page. Marcus hadn't sent me here to save anything. He hadn't sent Elena here to dream. He had sent both of us up here to fail loud enough that he could bulldoze the vines and pour concrete. If I delivered a liquidation plan, I wasn't just losing a partnership. I was handing him a loaded gun and pointing him toward her. The library felt smaller. The storm outside was gone, but my pulse sounded like thunder in my ears. Footsteps creaked in the hall, soft, hesitant. I shoved the papers back into the folder and looked up, just as the door eased open. Elena stood there in the doorway, hair down, robe wrapped tight around her, holding 2 mugs of cocoa like she had on that other night. You're still awake, she said quietly. And I knew, in that moment, that whatever I said next would change everything. She stood there in the doorway like she was afraid one more step would pull her into something she could not walk back from. "You're still awake," she said. Her voice was softer than I deserved. "Yeah," I managed. She walked in slowly, the mugs clinking on the saucer, her robe wrapped tight around her, hair loose over her shoulders. She looked less like the sharp strategist who argued with me over budgets, and more like the woman who had put a blanket over me on a couch without thinking. "I brought cocoa," she said. "Have it. I can take it back." I looked at the red folder in my hand. "Stay," I said. "Please." She hesitated, then crossed the room and set the mugs on the table. Her eyes went to the folder. "What is that?" she asked. "Proof," I said. "Of what?" I took a breath that felt too big for my chest. Then I opened the folder and turned it toward her. "Read." She stepped closer. Our shoulders almost touched. Her fingers brushed the edges of the pages while her eyes moved over the lines. Her face changed slow. Confusion. Shock. Anger. Something like betrayal, but it was not aimed at me this time. "Marcus," she whispered, "he was planning to sell the land, even if we saved it." "There's a clause in the trust," I said, pointing to the line. "They can't sell if the business is profitable, so he needed it to lose money." "For years." "He sent us up here," she said. Her jaw tightened. "He made it a game. Made us fight for a job that did not even exist, just so he could clear the board." "Yeah." She looked up at me. Her eyes were bright. Not with tears this time. With heat. "How long have you known?" she asked. "An hour," I said. "Maybe less. I found it in the boxes. I was trying to find a way to save the estate and still get the partnership. There isn't one. Not if we play by his rules." She stared at me like she was weighing me on the same scale she used for clients and campaigns. "You lied on that call," she said. "You told him you would send the liquidation plan." "I needed him calm," I said. "If he thinks I am still following orders, he does not start shredding everything. He does not move the money yet." Quote, "You were going to tell me?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I just needed to know what we were walking into first." She drew in a long breath and let it out slow. "So what now?" she asked. "Because if we present my plan, he kills it. If you present the liquidation, he kills the vineyard. Either way, he wins." I shook my head. "Not if the board sees this," I said, tapping the letters. "Not if the Rossi family sees it. Not if we show them he has been working with a developer behind their backs." "We both get fired," she said quietly. "Probably," I said. Her eyes searched my face. "You worked 10 years for that partnership," she said. "You would throw it all away for them? For this place?" "For you," I said before I could stop myself. The room went still. She blinked. "Liam," she whispered. "You walked in here with Coco and hope," I said, my voice low and rough. "I walked in here with a knife and told myself it was just business. I am not going to stand beside Marcus while he burns your work to the ground and calls it a win." Quote, she stepped close enough that I could feel the warmth of her body through cotton and flannel. "Last time you shut me out," she said. "You made a call and let me hear only the worst part. If we do this, we do it together. No more secrets." "Together," I said. I meant it. She nodded once. Then she did something that almost dropped me to my knees. She reached up, slid her hand behind my neck, and pulled my forehead down to hers. "If we lose," she said, her breath warm on my skin, "I do not want to lose you too." "You will not," I said. "You can't promise that." "I can try," I said. "And I can tell the truth in that room." She studied me for a beat, then gave the smallest, surest nod. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's blow him up." I laughed once, shaky, from somewhere deep. She kissed me. Slow this time, less storm, more choice. My hand slid to her waist, careful, steady. For one long moment, there was no firm, no board, no letters. Just the woman who had cooked me dinner for two while the world iced over outside. When we pulled apart, she pressed a mug of cocoa into my hand. "Drink," she said. "You are going to need it." Christmas Eve. Back in Chicago, the conference room looked just like it always did. Glass walls, city lights, Men and women in dark suits and expensive watches. It had never felt smaller. Elena sat at one end of the long table, black suit, hair pinned up, notes in front of her. She did not look at me. But her foot, hidden under the table, tapped once against my shoe. I tapped back. Marcus took the head of the table like a king. "Let us begin," he said. "Elena, your turn to entertain us." She stood. Her voice did not shake. She walked the board through her plan. Winter events, rebrand, new distribution deals. Line by line, she showed them how Rossi Vineyards could move from bleeding out to profitable again. It was smart, lean, strong. When she finished, there was a quiet in the room that sounded like respect. "Thank you," the chairman said. "Impressive work." Marcus clapped his hands once, slow. "Very pretty," he said, "and very risky. Liam, give us the reality." Every eye turned to me. I stood. The weight of 10 years and one old vineyard settled on my shoulders at the same time. "The reality," I said, "is that the Rossi estate is viable." Marcus's smile slipped. "Elena's plan works," I went on. 15% margin increase by second quarter. Staff retained. Brand strengthened. Long-term value protected. "That is not what we discussed," Marcus said sharply. "It is what the numbers say," I said, "and I work for the numbers." A few people chuckled. Marcus did not. "Liam," he said, warning in his tone. I met his eyes. Then I lifted the remote. "The real problem is not the vineyard," I said. "It is this." The screen shifted. The liquidation slides did not appear. The letters did. Marcus's name. Omnicorp's logo. Dates. Phrases. The deal terms. The trust clause. The room went silent. You could hear paper breathe. "These are correspondences between Marcus Thorne and Omnicorp," I said. "They show a prearranged agreement to sell the Rossi land for development. The only obstacle is the family trust. The trust lifts if the business fails. You sent us up there to make sure it did." The chairman's face went hard. "Marcus," he said, "is this true?" "This is taken out of context," Marcus said quickly. "Standard exploratory talks. The estate is failing. We have a duty to explore options." "You have a duty not to tank a client's business so you can cash out the land," I said. "That is fraud. It is a violation of your partnership agreement and of our ethical code." "Turn that off," Marcus snapped. "Now." "I have already sent copies to the board and to the Rossi family trust," I said calmly. "You cannot shred this, Marcus. The storm hit late this year." He stared at me like he could set me on fire with his eyes. "You are throwing away your career for a vineyard and a romance," he hissed. "For my own integrity," I said. "The vineyard is just where I found it again." I turned to the board. "I resign," I said. "Effective immediately. I will testify to this if needed. I will give you a full report. But I will not be part of this any longer." The room erupted. Voices on top of voices. The chairman calling for order, Marcus protesting, legal counsel asking for copies. I did not look at them, I looked at her. Elena sat very still at the end of the table. Her eyes were wide and wet and bright, not with shock this time, with something else. I walked over to her side. "It was never a game," I said quietly. "Not with you." Her hand moved under the table. Her fingers brushed mine. "Go," she whispered, "before they drag you into another meeting." I squeezed her hand once and walked out of the room, out of the firm, out of the life I had built like a house with no windows. Christmas Day, my apartment was half in boxes. I was sitting on the floor with a roll of tape when the buzzer rang. I ignored it. It rang again. And again. "What?" I barked into the intercom. "Open the door, Joyful," her voice answered, "or I start shouting your business to the whole building." My heart slammed once. I hit the button. She came up the stairs in that oversized coat, hair damp from snow, a big plastic container in her arms. She stepped into my tiny living room like she had been there 100 times. "You are hard to find," she said. "I am unemployed," I said. "I was trying to hide." She set the container on the counter and turned to face me. "You torched your career yesterday," she said. "Are you okay?" "No," I said honestly, "but I can breathe." She nodded, like that was the answer she wanted. "Nona called me this morning," she said. "She heard everything." The trust lawyers called, too. They are pressing charges against Marcus. The board voted him out. They want to hire a new firm. Good, I said. You will be a hell of a partner over there. I said no, she replied. That threw me. What? I asked. I do not want to go back into a room where someone can pull the floor from under us again, she said. The Rossi family offered us something else. They want us to build a small advisory group just for them and a few other estates. Independent, clean, transparent. They want the girl who fought for their story and the guy who fixed the boiler and blew the whistle. Us, I said slowly, together. Yes, she said. She took a step closer. But I only said yes on one condition, quote, which is, quote, that you stop thinking of yourself as the guy who lost everything, she said, and start seeing the man who saved something that mattered. She lifted the lid on the container. Lasagna, real, heavy, still warm. I made dinner, she said, for two. Just you and me. My chest hurt in the best way. Is this a date? I asked. She smiled, soft and certain and a little shy. It is a start, she said. If you want it. I want it, I said. No hesitation. She set the food down and stepped into me. Her hands slid up my chest to my neck. I bent my head. The first kiss in that little apartment tasted like tomato, basil, and every second chance I did not think people like me got. 6 months later, the vineyard glowed under a summer sky. The solstice gala was in full swing. Lights strung between old trees, laughter spilling across the lawn, glasses clinking, music sliding out of open doors. I stood near the edge of the terrace in a simple suit, tie loose, looking out over the vines that had almost become concrete. We are over capacity, I said. Stop counting heads and enjoy it, Elena answered, coming to stand beside me. She wore a deep green dress that moved with the wind. Her hair was down, her eyes were bright. She looked like she belonged to the land, and also like she could pick it up and move it if she wanted. We did it, she said softly. You did it, I said. I just kept the bills paid. She slid her hand into mine. You kept me standing when everything shook, she said. That is more than numbers. She turned to face me fully. The lights behind her made a halo in her hair. I have a new proposal for the board, she said. We are the board, I reminded her. Then I am lucky, she said, smiling, because I think the vote will go my way. What are you proposing? I asked. A permanent partnership, she said. Not just contracts, not just this place. My heart did that uneven kick again. Like, permanent? Permanent? I asked. Yes, she said. No exit clause, no backup plan. Just you and me and a lot of work and a lot of dinners for two. I looked at her, at the woman who had argued with me in conference rooms and cooked with me in storms and walked into my empty apartment with lasagna and a job offer wrapped around her heart. Is this a date? I asked, because I am who I am. She laughed, bright and full and free. No, Liam, she said, rising on her toes and looping her arms around my neck. It is a life. Then she kissed me in front of the vines and the lights and everyone. I kissed her back with both hands on her waist, steady and sure. For the first time, it did not feel like I was standing in a house waiting for the roof to fall. It felt like home.